Most people grow up believing that happiness is something they will reach one day, as if it exists at the end of a long road. They tell themselves they will finally be happy when they get the right job, earn more money, find the perfect partner, or achieve a certain level of success. This way of thinking turns happiness into a future reward instead of a present experience. As a result, life becomes a constant waiting room, where today is sacrificed for a tomorrow that never fully arrives. When happiness is treated as a destination, every phase of life becomes incomplete. You are always not there yet. Even achievements lose their power because the mind quickly moves the finish line. The promotion comes, but now you want more money. The goal is reached, but now a bigger goal replaces it. This endless chasing creates frustration, not fulfillment. People assume the problem is that they haven't achieved enough, when the real issue is how they define happiness in the first place. Seeing happiness as a destination also creates unnecessary pressure. It makes people believe that if they are not happy right now, something must be wrong with them or their life. Normal struggles start to feel like failures. Stress, doubt, and uncertainty are treated as signs that happiness is far away instead of natural parts of being human. This mindset causes people to reject the present moment, always looking for an escape instead of learning how to live fully where they are. In reality, happiness is not something you arrive at, it is something you practice. It exists in how you respond to challenges, how you treat yourself, and how you engage with your daily life. It's found in meaning, not milestones. People who understand this stop postponing their happiness. They learn to appreciate progress instead of waiting for perfection. They allow themselves to feel content even while striving for more. When happiness is no longer tied to an end goal, life becomes more balanced. Ambition doesn't disappear, but it becomes healthier. You still work hard, but your sense of worth is no longer dependent on outcomes. You can enjoy the journey instead of resenting it. Failures become lessons instead of proof that happiness is delayed. Success becomes something to appreciate, not something you desperately need to feel complete. This shift changes how people live day to day. Instead of rushing through life to get somewhere else, they become more present. Small wins matter, effort matters, growth matters. Happiness stops being something fragile that can only exist under perfect conditions. It becomes something stable, rooted in values, purpose, and self respect. Once happiness is understood as a way of living rather than a final destination, people stop chasing it and start experiencing it. Many people believe that happiness comes from comfort, ease, and having fewer problems, but real happiness grows from progress. When you are moving forward, learning, and becoming better than you were before, there is a deep sense of satisfaction that comfort alone can never provide. Growth gives life meaning. Without it, even a comfortable life can start to feel empty and repetitive. Human beings are wired to grow. When growth stops, frustration begins. You can have stability, money, and free time, yet still feel restless and unfulfilled if you are not developing in some way. This is why boredom and dissatisfaction often appear when people stay in the same place for too long. Growth challenges you, and challenge brings engagement. When you stretch yourself, your mind becomes active and your life feels purposeful. Real happiness comes from seeing yourself improve. It comes from knowing that you handled something today that you couldn't handle before. That progress might be small, but it matters. Learning a new skill, building discipline, improving your mindset, or facing a fear creates confidence. That confidence is earned, not given, and because it is earned, it lasts. Temporary pleasure fades quickly, but the pride that comes from growth stays with you. Growth is not always comfortable. In fact, it often feels difficult, slow, and uncertain. Many people avoid it because they associate happiness with feeling good all the time. But feeling good is not the same as being fulfilled. Growth involves struggle, mistakes, and discomfort. Yet it also brings a deeper form of happiness that comfort cannot match. When you overcome something hard, you experience a sense of accomplishment that no shortcut can replace. Another reason growth creates happiness is that it aligns you with your potential. There is a quiet dissatisfaction that comes from knowing you could be doing more with your life but choosing not to. Growth reduces that inner conflict. Each step forward, no matter how small, closes the gap between who you are and who you want to become. That alignment creates peace and self respect. Growth also shifts focus away from comparison. When you are committed to improving yourself, you stop measuring your life against others. Your attention turns inward, toward your own progress. This reduces anxiety and envy and replaces them with clarity. You begin to define success on your own terms, which makes happiness more personal and sustainable. When growth becomes the goal, happiness stops depending on external results. Even during setbacks, there is satisfaction in knowing you are learning and evolving. Life feels meaningful because every experience, good or bad, contributes to who you are becoming. That sense of forward movement is what creates real, lasting happiness. Most people chase happiness through pleasure, believing that if something feels good in the moment, it must be the key to a happy life. Pleasure is easy to access and quick to feel. It comes from entertainment, comfort, praise, and instant rewards. While pleasure can make life enjoyable, it is temporary by nature. The feeling fades quickly, and once it does, the desire for more returns. This cycle keeps people chasing the next high without ever feeling truly satisfied. Pleasure depends on external stimulation. It requires something to happen, something to be consumed, or something to be received. Because of this, it is unstable. When circumstances change, pleasure disappears. A life built only around pleasure becomes fragile, constantly needing new distractions to avoid emptiness. Over time, what once felt exciting loses its impact, forcing people to seek stronger or more frequent stimulation just to feel the same effect. Meaning works differently. Meaning is created, not consumed. It comes from responsibility, purpose, and contributing to something larger than yourself. When your actions align with your values, life feels worthwhile even when it is difficult. Meaning doesn't disappear when conditions are uncomfortable. In fact, it often grows stronger during hardship. This is why people can endure pain, sacrifice, and long periods of struggle when they believe in what they are doing. A meaningful life provides stability that pleasure cannot. It gives you a reason to wake up in the morning beyond seeking comfort. When challenges arise, meaning acts as an anchor. You may not enjoy the moment, but you understand why it matters. That understanding creates resilience. It allows you to move through discomfort without feeling lost or defeated. Pleasure asks, how do I feel right now? Meaning asks, why does this matter? The first focuses on short term comfort, while the second focuses on long term fulfillment. People who prioritize only pleasure often feel restless and dissatisfied, even when life appears enjoyable from the outside. People who prioritize meaning may feel tired or challenged, but they experience a deeper sense of satisfaction because their efforts have direction. Meaning also shapes identity. When your life is guided by purpose, your choices become clearer. You are less easily distracted because you know what deserves your time and energy. This clarity reduces inner conflict and creates a sense of peace. You no longer need constant approval or excitement because your fulfillment comes from knowing you are living in alignment with what matters to you. While pleasure can add enjoyment to life, it cannot sustain happiness on its own. Meaning gives life depth. It turns effort into fulfillment and struggle into growth. When people shift their focus from chasing pleasure to building meaning, happiness becomes more lasting, grounded, and real. Many people believe peace will come when their problems disappear, but real peace begins when responsibility is accepted. When life feels out of control, the mind naturally looks for someone or something to blame. Blame provides temporary relief because it shifts the burden away from you. However, it also takes away your power. As long as the cause of your problems exists outside of you, so does the solution, and that leaves you feeling helpless. Taking responsibility does not mean blaming yourself for everything that goes wrong. It means recognizing where your control actually exists. You may not control your past, other people's actions, or unexpected events, but you always control your response. When you accept this, something changes internally. You stop waiting for circumstances to improve and start focusing on what you can do right now. That focus creates clarity, and clarity creates peace. Responsibility brings order to chaos. When you stop blaming and start owning your choices, life feels less confusing. Problems become tasks instead of threats. Challenges turn into situations to be handled rather than evidence that life is unfair. This shift reduces anxiety because you are no longer fighting reality. You are working with it. Peace comes from alignment with truth, not from denial or avoidance. There is also dignity in responsibility. When you own your actions and decisions, you respect yourself more. You begin to trust yourself because you know you are willing to face consequences and make adjustments. That self-trust is calming. It removes the constant inner tension that comes from avoiding accountability. Even when things are difficult, there is a quiet confidence in knowing you are handling them honestly. Avoiding responsibility often creates inner conflict. You may tell yourself that circumstances are to blame, but deep down, you know there are choices you are not making or actions you are avoiding. That gap between what you know and what you do creates stress. Responsibility closes that gap. When your actions match your awareness, the mind settles. Peace grows from integrity. Taking responsibility also reduces resentment. When you stop expecting others to fix your life, you free yourself from disappointment. You no longer depend on validation, permission, or perfect conditions to move forward. This independence brings emotional freedom. You are less reactive and more grounded because your sense of stability comes from within. Peace is not the absence of difficulty, it is the presence of ownership. When you accept responsibility for your life, even in imperfect circumstances, you regain control over your direction. That control does not eliminate challenges, but it changes how they are experienced. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, you feel capable. And that feeling of capability is the foundation of lasting peace. Many people believe happiness should feel like constant excitement, joy, and high energy, but that expectation creates disappointment. Life is not designed to be an endless series of emotional highs. When happiness is defined as excitement, anything calm or ordinary starts to feel like something is missing. This misunderstanding causes people to chase stimulation instead of stability, confusing noise with fulfillment. Real happiness is often quiet. It shows up as clarity rather than thrill. It is the feeling of knowing who you are, what matters to you, and where you are going. This kind of happiness does not demand constant attention. It allows you to move through your day with a sense of inner order, even when life is busy or challenging. Calm does not mean boredom. It means your mind is not at war with itself. Clarity plays a central role in lasting happiness. When your values are clear, decisions become simpler. You waste less energy overthinking or doubting yourself. This mental simplicity reduces stress and creates space for peace. Many people feel unhappy not because their lives are bad, but because their minds are cluttered with comparison, confusion, and unmet expectations. Clarity cuts through that noise. Excitement fades quickly, but calm sustains you. High emotions rise and fall, often leaving exhaustion behind. Calm provides balance. It allows you to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting emotionally. In this state, happiness becomes less fragile. It is no longer dependent on external events going your way. You can experience contentment even when things are uncertain because your inner foundation is steady. Another reason calm and clarity matter is that they create self acceptance. When you are constantly chasing excitement, you are often running from yourself. Silence and calm force you to face your thoughts, fears, and desires honestly. While this can be uncomfortable at first, it leads to self understanding. That understanding brings peace. You stop needing constant distraction because you are no longer afraid of your own mind. Clarity also reduces comparison. When you know your path, other people's journeys become less distracting. You stop measuring your life against highlights from others and start focusing on what progress looks like for you. This shift removes a major source of dissatisfaction. Happiness becomes personal instead of competitive. Calm happiness does not mean the absence of ambition or joy. It means ambition without anxiety and joy without dependence. It is the ability to enjoy moments without needing them to define your worth. When happiness is grounded in calm and clarity, it becomes steady, resilient, and deeply satisfying, even in a world that constantly demands excitement.